I, female 32, have been dating my boyfriend for a few months. Jacob, 35, is a widower with a tween daughter, Katie. I've only met Katie recently, but she's a lovely girl, well-behaved, is polite, and does well in school. An absolute joy to be around. She had a birthday yesterday, and Jacob organised a party for her. Her grandparents were there, as well as a few of her friends. A week before the party, a package with Katie's gift arrived. Jacob confessed to me what it was. Katie had been begging for a phone for ages, and Jacob bought her a cheap £20 phone, the really basic one, and he ordered a box for an iPhone. I think you all know where this is going. I asked him if he was going to buy her an iPhone, and he said that it was a prank and he's got some books for her. She loves reading, but she'll get that cheap phone and that's it, and the prank will be funny. I hated that idea. I hate these pranks. It wasn't my place. I barely know Katie, but I couldn't see her so hurt, and I knew she'd be devastated. So I bought her an older iPhone, refurbished, as a gift. When her birthday came, she was devastated. You could tell. She politely accepted the old phone and didn't make a scene, but was crying in the bathroom after. Jacob thought it was so funny, and her friends mocked her. I calmed her down and asked her to come downstairs as one more present was waiting for her. When she got her phone, she was so happy. Even though it wasn't the newest or brand new, she was elated and the humiliation was long forgotten. But Jacob was fuming, told me I was an idiot for undermining his authority and I had no right to spoil Katie, she was spoiled enough. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I can understand where he's coming from. I barely entered her life and it may seem like I'm trying to bug her affection, which I'm not. He's so angry with me. I don't know if I was the idiot. I might have made Katie happy, but I hurt him. I'm conflicted. Was I the idiot here? Edit. I did mention to him it was an awful prank, but he told me it would be fun and to relax and that I was no fun. Basically, he wouldn't listen. Not the idiot, but your taste in men is questionable. Cruelly pranking his daughter in front of her friends on her birthday indicates that he will always be the idiot. And just imagine if he was willing to do that to his own daughter after you told him not to do so, what would he do to you once he gets comfortable enough with you? In what ways will this man humiliate you just because he thinks it's funny a year from now or 2 years from now? The guy is 35 years old, yet he has the emotional maturity of a teenager. You seriously need to reconsider your relationship with this man. Normally, I'd be pretty harsh with you, and I would say you're the idiot if you were going against the wishes of a well-meaning parent. But that's not the situation. You are going against the wishes of a bully who enjoys being mean to his child. Seriously, this man thought it was funny to upset a child. His child. The icing on the cake is that it was at her own freaking birthday party. What the actual heck? This man is deranged if this is his idea of entertainment. I'd run. God willing, Katie will run away when she's 18. The cherry on top is that the man is a widower and his daughter has lost a mom. Maybe she's so polite because she's scared of upsetting her dad. She sounded exactly like me when I was a kid. I was terrified of my family and behaved perfectly because I knew there was no alternative. OP, he not only thought this prank was so fun to do to a young girl in front of her friends, but she also has lost a mom. And he thought this would be a riot? OP, I think you should dump this guy. Leaving a tween girl with that kind of dad makes me very worried for her teenage years, when things are already especially brutal for young girls. OMG, yeah, good point. As though losing your mom isn't hard enough. How he treats his daughter is how he will one day treat you. 100% guaranteed. Even if he's mad, you did the right thing. You saved that girl's birthday. She'll probably remember it for years. But what your boyfriend did was gross. And if anyone here has a right to be angry, it's Katie. My fiancé and I planned a large wedding in July at a venue in the country. I said that was too out of the way for most people because only 14 people said they were coming. However, we'd already set aside money for our wedding, and since there would no longer be many people coming, we decided to splurge. So we asked everyone who RSVP'd that they were coming if they could take a few extra days off for a longer trip to Hawaii, all expenses paid by us. Everyone said yes, so we started booking tickets and suites at this nice resort. We also planned some fun things to do while we were there. Everyone is very excited about the trip. Now my sister, who RSVP'd that she and her family weren't coming, is upset that I didn't re-invite her when we changed plans. She thinks that since it's basically a different trip, they should have been told. Originally, she said she couldn't come to our wedding because that time of the year is very difficult for her and her husband. After all, the summer is the busiest time for their business. They have a landscaping business. Also, she said travelling that far with all her kids would be difficult because of the long car ride. It would have been around a 3-hour drive from where she lives. So it doesn't make any sense to me for her to say she can't go on a long trip even farther away. The plane trip is almost 9 hours long. Also, she says it's unfair because our brother and his family get to go while hers doesn't. So that's making her kids feel left out because their cousins are going, and my sister says it's like playing favourites. My sister and her family would be 5 more people, so even if we wanted to re-invite them, they would cause us to go way over budget. So the only other option would be to drastically downgrade the trip we already promised everyone. It just seems totally unfair to everyone else, but my sister also thinks I'm being unfair and says we pulled a reverse bait and switch. Not the idiot. She doesn't want to celebrate your wedding, she wants Hawaii. She can pay for that herself. Too bad. Just tell her, I'm sorry you feel that way, but is your busy season suddenly less busy? Can your kids suddenly handle a longer trip? You told me those were your reasons for not coming, and those reasons haven't changed, so let's move on. If she keeps pushing, let her know your budget is maxed out, but you'd never stop her from coming. They'll have to pay for themselves. Now the whole family can have fun together. Watch how fast she backtracks. My thoughts exactly. 3 hours drive is nothing. I've travelled 10 to 12 hours for several friends' weddings, and friends have travelled to mine. The sister is so obvious about her intentions, it's embarrassing. The fact that your own sister said she couldn't come to your wedding was 3 hours away would be enough reason to not re-invite her. No, just re-invite her, but explain you're going back to the original plan because you can't afford it with all the people that can now come. I bet you she changes her story again. Seriously though, OP, I think what you're doing is amazing. You are taking those who truly are in it to celebrate you on an epic trip that you will all get to remember for the rest of your lives. That's awesome. I hope you have a great time, a terrific ceremony and marriage, feel the love of all those truly in it for you, and enjoy every second. And ignore Miss Sour Grapes, otherwise known as your sister. I, Pete, and my wife Eve have an agreement. The agreement says that if one of us has a complaint or suggestion to voice to the other person, we have to preface it with at least 2 compliments. So for instance, if I wanted to approach my wife about leaving her dirty clothes on the floor, I might first tell her that I liked the new shirt she bought and that I appreciated how she did the laundry the previous week. Then I would ask her if she could pick her clothes up. Yesterday, Eve was making some oatmeal chocolate chip raisin cookies, a recipe that she often makes by stirring together an oatmeal cookie box mix with chocolate chips and raisins. I really dislike raisins, so naturally I've never cared for this recipe, and I've even strongly implied my dislike for them on several occasions. Still, my wife never seems to get the hint. So yesterday, while Eve was getting out the ingredients to make the cookies, I started with 2 compliments. I said that it was a nice gesture for her to make cookies for the family and that I liked how she cooked them for the perfect amount of time so that they weren't too hard or too doughy. I then told her that I didn't care for the raisins and that I would appreciate it if she made a few cookies without them. Since the raisins weren't already mixed in, Eve added them and the chocolate chips to the box mix. My wife nodded, so I thought that meant she was saying yes. Later, she announced the cookies were ready to eat, so I came over and asked which ones didn't have raisins. With a confused expression, she asked me what I meant. I reminded her of our conversation earlier. Eve replied that since I had given her 2 compliments on the cookies but only 1 complaint, she thought I enjoyed her raisin cookies more than I disliked them, so she continued with the original recipe. She said they couldn't be that bad if 2/3 of my comments about them were positive. I was at a loss, so I just sat down. I wanted to say something but didn't know how to articulate my thoughts. Finally, I decided to just go for it. Eve, I began. But before I could continue, Eve interrupted in a warning tone. Careful, Pete, remember our agreement? At that point, I lost it. I stood up abruptly and told her I couldn't pretend anymore and that eating the raisin cookies like this was unbearable and that my feelings about the cookies were pretty much all negative. I didn't preface that comment with 2 positives, so I broke our agreement here. At first I thought I was justified, but I talked to my friends who told me that my wife doesn't owe me cookies and that I should just be grateful she made me cookies at all, and I shouldn't have broken the agreement. Eve is still mad at me. So, am I the idiot for breaking the agreement? Holy cow, the communication in this relationship is abysmal. In what messed up world are you not allowed to share that you dislike raisins without offering two essentially unrelated complimentary preambles? This is so freaking odd. Maybe well-intentioned to form more positive exchanges, but this feels really extreme and counterproductive to me. Not the idiot. Your wife failed to uphold her part of the agreement you'd made, whereas it's intended to allow someone to voice a complaint or request. She has repurposed it into a new thing in which the complaint, or issue, is not heard at all if accompanied by positive sentiments, which a complaint must always be. Facepalm. What did I just read? This rule seems like some BS from TikTok or something. You can't have a clear conversation if everything has to be sugar-coated. This communication style is a time bomb with a clock. Agree. Depending on your dynamic here, you're both kind of dumb or she's manipulative. Think about it this way. You're not allowed to voice a complaint unless it's prefaced by two compliments. Still, if you preface a complaint with two compliments, she then assumes the complaint doesn't apply. Magic. No complaints are ever made. I suggest you go to therapy to get some intense guidance on how to actually communicate in a partnership. My teen female mom died when I was born. My dad dated, but none of them stuck until recently. I think I might have been part of the reason in some cases, as I know one was upset that I never warmed up to her. I don't remember ever mistreating any of them, but I was usually not very interested in them. I feel like I don't need a mom figure, and I'm happiest doing my own thing. That's all for context, because I'm trying to understand why everyone is upset. It may be relevant to the current situation. I might be missing a pattern. My dad started dating Helen 3 years ago and they married a year ago. Things were difficult at first because it took some time for her to really understand that I do not need mothering and she will not fill that role for me. We finally arrived at a compromise in that she agreed to route all concerns through my dad instead of trying to parent me directly, and in return, I would spend a reasonable amount of time with her and my dad around schoolwork. That was working well until she became pregnant several months ago. My dad has said that the medical situation is a little stressful, so I might need to understand Helen more than usual for a while. Helen seems to be absolutely obsessed with the baby. It's all she talks about lately. I'm not interested in the subject, but I let her talk. Because I skipped 2 grades, I'm also graduating high school this year and preparing for college, so I have a lot of other things on my mind. Schrodinger's idiot situation happened this week at dinner when she was talking about what it's going to be like once the baby is born. In retrospect, she may have just been looking for validation. Still, she asked if I was excited about having a baby brother. I'm not, so I said I wasn't. She asked why, and I said, 1. I will be at college by then and very busy, so that will be my focus. 2. I'm not fond of babies in general. And 3. Even if siblings were something I wanted, I don't expect to be involved much with a half-sibling with such a huge age difference. Helen started crying and said that she didn't understand why I was so cold all the time, and she thought that at least I'd be happy about the baby and loosen up some. She also asked if it would kill me to show some emotion and concern with how hard this is. My dad stepped in then, but later told me I hurt Helen's feelings and that not caring about Helen or the baby was cruel. He said that even if I don't like Helen, I shouldn't take it out on my soon-to-be brother by denying him a big sister that loves him. I don't really understand the problem, to be completely honest, and no one here seems to be willing or able to explain. I feel like the answer I gave was reasonable. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. That may not be a popular opinion, but you are starting college at a young age. Lots of people your age whose parents are still together and having a kid don't look forward to it. I had cousins who were annoyed that their parents had more children. That said, you probably could have worded it a little bit differently, and it wouldn't have killed you to show a little bit of kindness. You'll learn as you get older that you can be truthful while also wording things in such a way as to minimize hurt feelings. You are still part of the family and she's still your father's wife, and you should choose your words more carefully. I really don't understand people asking questions and being unprepared for the full range of answers. Also, being pregnant doesn't automatically make a woman more desirable as a mom to someone else. It's strange to think that OP would suddenly develop feelings towards her and the kid growing in her. Also, I think telling the truth trumps being an idiot. Sometimes the truth isn't pleasant. It's not being an idiot to tell the truth. I personally think it's more of an idiot thing to lie than not tell the truth. You are the idiot. It costs nothing to be kind. You are intentionally disregarding your stepmom's feelings and saying something you know will hurt her. For what? A white lie in this situation hurts no one, and would make your stepmom happy. Throw the lady a frickin' bone. Agree. OP, ask yourself, do you love your dad? Do you want him to be happy? Learn to be graceful and polite. You could have replied to your stepmom, I think it will be interesting since we are so many years apart and I hope we can develop a relationship. I know Dad is excited and I'm excited for him. I, male 29, recently got laid off a few months ago, so I'm out of work and taking care of all the household chores and childcare while I'm applying for new jobs. Yesterday, I went to a party with my girlfriend, 29, and she was talking about our situation with her friends while I was sitting with the group. She laughingly said, I don't mind it, it's nice having my own personal maid. Everyone laughed along with her. I told her, I'm not your maid, because I don't like jokes like this, and she told me to chill out. I told her I was being serious because she's made jokes like this before and I hate it. I don't like being the only one to do housework, and I can't wait to return to work and have a more equal arrangement again. This kind of made the situation awkward. When we got home, she blew up at me for making such a big deal over small talk and called me a major idiot. She said I should be grateful she didn't say worse things about me considering how she's footing all my bills right now. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She said you should be grateful she didn't say worse things about you considering how she's paying all the bills. She really told you because she's paying all the bills, this gives her carte blanche to verbally abuse you? I hate to say it, but your girlfriend has been put into a position of power in your relationship. The mask has come off and she has shown you what she's really like. She actually believes that because she's supporting you right now, that gives her the right to disparage and make fun of you to anyone she wants as much as she wants. She's a good person because she only did it a little bit. Think about this. There are more red flags waving here than in a parade in China. They say if you want to see what kind of person someone is, see how they treat the wait staff. This is an extension of the idea that if you want to see what someone is like, put them in a position of power. If they abuse that position of power to maintain control over others, then they're a bad person. No matter how nice they act around others, they consider to be on their level. OP, it was demeaning and hurtful. I doubt she would be pleased if the shoe was on the other foot.